Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the RCMP's 2021-2022 Policing Priorities Virtual Open House. My name is Staff Sergeant Kathy Clausen, and I'm with the Wood Buffalo RCMP. I will be your host for this evening. Tonight is very exciting as we partner with the RMWB to share with you our new policing priorities after reviewing February's online community survey. Following tonight's presentation, we will spend time in Q&A session, as well as opening an immersive community policing webpage where we will invite residents of the region to continue the conversation. I'd like to start by acknowledging this event is being held and recorded on Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, and the unceded territory of the Métis people, as well as the ancient gathering grounds of many Indigenous peoples. Before we begin the presentation, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to share so this time together can be as formative as possible for all attendees. Here's what you need to know. This event is being recorded as an act of transparency and as a form of record keeping. It will be made available to the public once the meeting is concluded. If you know of someone who can't join us tonight, let them know this recording will be made available for them to view on participate.rmwb.ca. You'll notice that your audio device will be muted for the evening. This is intentional so the speaker can share information without interruption, and so all participants can hear questions and answers without being spoken over. If you have any questions throughout this evening, please enter them at any time in our Q&A chat session, which you'll see in the top right-hand corner of your screen. If you are joining us by dialing in, please text your question to 780-788-0206. We always prepare before these virtual events, but we do ask for your patience in the event we experience technical difficulties. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated and may result in removal from this event. Thank you. So, all right, let's start talking about policing priorities. Here to present tonight's content is Wood Buffalo RCMP Officer in Charge, Superintendent Mark Hancock.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd really like to thank the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo and artists. You can just hold off on that slide for 1 second. And I'd really like to thank Deanna Tucker for her work, as well as Artist Arnold and Nicole Schweenard as being the municipal employee manager here in the building in the RCMP Wood Buffalo detachment. Very much appreciated for all the hard work that went into this. Very exciting to speak to you all this week. And I'd just like to say that this is National Police Week as well, May 9th to 15th. And there's a message from the commissioner on that. Basically, it's about working together to keep our communities safe. And the collaborative efforts of police, first responders, as well as community and social organizations to keep our communities healthy and safe. So I just wanted to start with that quote, so I thought that was kind of fitting this week. And going to very, very pleased with the results of the survey. A lot of people took a look at it and provided their feedback, and compared to last year, this year we had over 700 surveys completed, which is outstanding. And I've actually got to thank the communities that all participated in the survey, and there's several here, and I have to apologize because I do have lots of notes here and I may be referring to these on occasion just to keep myself organized. Hopefully I won't have to do it too much, but I have them here. So really excited for a chance to talk to the communities. The survey communities, the communities that completed the survey include Anzac, Conklin, Draper, Fort Chipewyan, Fort McMurray, Gregoire Lake Estates, John Vier, Sapere Creek Estates, Fort Fitzgerald, and Fort Mackay. So we had very, very good turnout, and I was very pleased to see that. Next, I'll bring up a slide about it's about the policing priorities and how those look. So that's up on the screen there now. You can see that they're color coded, and I have notes here to show what they are. So the number one concern of the communities was property crime. With the just over 700 people, we have 362 people that felt that that was the number one priority. Followed second is in the dark green with 284, and that would be complaints of drugs in communities. Third place is in the purple, and that is impaired driving by drugs and alcohol. And then the fourth place was domestic violence. And we certainly can understand that with everything that's been going on with COVID-19 and pandemic and a lot of stressors with the economy as well at times. The fifth one was the other green line there at 194, which was crime reduction initiatives. So those are what the community felt were the most important things. And when we sit down as a team here after gathering that information, a lot of good written feedback on that as well that I was very pleased about. It gave us an idea of what people are thinking about priorities. And then we held some other meetings as well with local communities. And then we sat down with my management team here and several of our members and looked at all this. And Staff Sergeant Kathy Klassen has done a great deal of work on this. She's the one who helped put our annual performance plan together for 2020, 2021. And then this year's plan as well. So maybe we can bring up the actual annual performance plan now, Artis, if we can. So we've chosen 5 objectives, and this is for the 2021-2022 annual performance plan. The first objective, as I told you, it mirrors the community's response about property crime being very important. So these initiatives, I might add, are for the municipality as a whole. It doesn't take away from the fact that we do have the resources here to deal with, your core policing, day-to-day policing projects, issues that come up in specific communities. But this is the blanket bigger plan that encompasses the entire RMWB, including Fort Chipewyan. So the first initiative is to reduce the number of property crime offenses by 5%. And then the second part is to conduct 4 crime reduction focused projects. And those projects, that initiative is held by our crime reduction unit, which is really doing outstanding work. And they can do a number of different things. So they're going to be choosing 4 crime reduction focused projects and working with the entire detachment on that. So things that might come to mind for me are probably targeting prolific offenders and other investigative techniques that I probably can't totally get into because they are investigative techniques. So that's the first objective. And then if we look at the second objective, which is drugs, and from the survey, drugs were very important to a lot of the communities. I've actually only started here on February 1st, but I've been out to some of the communities before the state of emergency came, and it really made it difficult to travel. But I've been up to Fort Chipewyan. I've been in virtual town hall with Conklin. Same thing with Fort McKay. Working on local community here. Still need to get in touch with Janvier and Anzac a bit more and the rest of the communities, but getting there. And drugs came up in just about every conversation I've had. So, and this is nothing new to this area. This is a Canada-wide problem. This is my 4th province I've worked in. Drugs always come up as an initiative and as an issue. So, we have had some success already with some drug work, with some cocaine, fentanyl seizures, dealing with finances of these people from organized crime, because that's what it is to me. And we do have resources here to deal with that, which I hope I can expand upon that a bit more later. But we're doing quarterly reporting on these things. We're trying to do as many media releases as we can. We want people to know what we're doing. I want to be transparent with the things that we're doing in the community. And then, of course, along with enforcement is conducting drug awareness and educational presentations. I've got a community policing section here that has got around the COVID issue and have done a lot of things virtually and a lot of presentations in our over 30 schools in this area. And very pleased with their work. New corporals going in there, Corporal Lacey Blair. I expect her to continue the good work that's being done in that section, and I do not plan on depleting that section anytime soon. I want them to be completely engaged in what they're doing. So that is important to me as well, is that we get the word out about, you know, how drugs affect the body, just all kinds of education on drugs and the dangers of them. The third objective is traffic safety, and again, that did come up as, you know, with our survey as an initiative. And we got increased the number of impaired driving sanctions. So we have the new legislation that came out, the immediate roadside sanctions, as well as still the criminal code investigations. So we have really a couple options now for impaired driving. The immediate roadside sanctions have the same penalties as criminal code, impaired for fines and for prohibitions. And they're a little easier for us to use. I think the criminal ones will come in when people are hurt or fatals and that kind of thing. So we've been pretty good in that area here, but I think that's because the members are out there and they're doing their job. So this is another one that will carry over. We did the same. I think we had that one on there last year as well. And then increase the number of Traffic Safety Act charges. So, you know, we still will be out there enforcing speeding and other driving infractions. And the fourth objective is enhance public confidence and engagement. Conduct community town halls. That's what we're doing right now. It's very, very difficult to meet with you in person right now, and I prefer that. But this is one way that we're trying to be strategic and be able to actually do this. And we do plan on having more of these. We're going to have the results of this come back to you. We're going to take your questions, and we're going to have another live forum, January, February. We're going to have other town halls, and we're going to conduct another survey in March of 2022 as well. So we'll prepare for next year's plan and look at what your thoughts are as a community at that time. So stakeholder engagements, very important. Throughout the whole community, we actually have with our community policing section and even with my officer cadre here. This is the first time that I've been here because I was here in 2015 to 2017, left and came back when I went down to district in St. Paul for 3.5 years. That we just had, I have Inspector Tyler Codling as my operations officer, and I just had Staff Sergeant Keith Horwood pass his inspector's interview. So I'm hoping to keep him here as another one of my inspectors. And as well, I've got Sergeant Sarah Drummond just passed hers. So she'll be another inspector. So I'll have a full team here of white shirts, and they're really good to work with, and I'm very excited about that. But we have all those members have people that they have as contacts in the community. And it's very important to me. It's very important that people can reach out to me and talk to me as well. I want to be transparent. We also have a new sergeant going into the indigenous liaison position here. And that's not to take away what the officers and members are already doing here, but it's going to be a nice addition, I think, that we can have an extra person doing projects in the communities. And very pleased to say that that's going to be Sergeant Martina Noski coming up. She's a successful person who won that position, and I think that we'll have a lot of work for her to do, and I think it'll be very good. So, but there's many more stakeholder engagements that I might get to talk a bit more about later. And the fifth objective is employee and public wellness. So I've kind of made the promise in the media before about the PAC team, and that is the mental health professional and a member that will go to mental health calls when they can. And it's better, I think, than having the police go to all these calls, and have a professional that knows how to talk to people and deal with people. So don't need the yellow stripe going all the time. And I think a teamwork approach with Alberta Health Services is very important here. For Police and Crisis Team is what PAC stands for. So we're still working on that. There's a memorandum of understanding out there now, And that's being looked at, and I hope that that comes through very soon. I'm keeping a close eye on that because I want that to happen. Public education engagements, I talked about our section here that does that, and as well as our whole detachment gets engaged in that, which we'll be doing. And I hope I get some questions on that because there's a lot of good things going on. Physical wellness challenges and mindfulness training. We have a number of things going on within the detachment here internally, and that's very important. I want my members to be in shape. I want them to be strong mentally, and I want them to be happy. So very important to have employees in that position. I guess that finishes our annual performance plan. I do want to say one more thing, and that's you know, that the RCMP, we're hiring. We're always looking for more members, and there's going to be there's virtual presentations on the RCMP website for recruiting events. If you go to the RCMP website, you put in recruiting events, search Alberta. There's a Google Meet date on there for the next event, and we're actually, even though we have COVID, we are doing some entrance exams here in June, so that process is moving along. COVID has slowed down Depot. We usually get about 28 to 35 members from Depot here a year. We have lots of young members on the watch that we're training and teaching them, mentoring them. That has slowed down right now, but hopefully it's supposed to pick up again soon. So I don't know, I'm doing lots of talking here, but I hope that makes sense. Again, thank you so much for so many people completing the survey, and I hope that these objectives make sense. And again, we still have core policing, so there will be other projects outside of this, obviously community specific, that we can do. So my biggest thing is treating everyone with respect, every single person we deal with, and try to do the best job we can every day. So with that, I think I'll send it back to Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for all the insightful information you provided. It's really good to show the community how their involvement on the online survey helped the RCMP decide the upcoming year's performance plan. So right now, I would like to take this time to start the Q&A session. If you have any questions to add to our growing list, I invite you to send them now through our chat or text your questions to 780-788-0206. So I'm going to start with the first question of tonight. Mark, how are you collaborating with community partners so there is more support and education available to people who are struggling?
Thank you very much for that question, Kathy. That's a very important question right now with COVID-19, global pandemic, state of emergency here right now. I know that there are some people struggling here with the economy before too, and hopefully that will pick up a bit. But definitely it's tough times right now, and a number of things we're trying to do. And I think collaboration with community partners is very, very important. You know, we've got so many people in the community that can help out. And if we're dealing with police matters, sometimes we're more than just the police. You know, we can refer people to people who can help. That teamwork is so important. You know, the PAC team that I just spoke about, police and crisis team, you know, if we're going to a mental health call, then maybe we need to partner with Alberta Health Services, and that's something I want to do. I think it's a better approach to the community than, you know, us showing up, not knowing the history of the subject, maybe having to get hands-on when maybe we don't have to sometimes. If that person knows their history, knows how to talk to them, and knows how to look at their background and what's best for their treatment. So that's one thing. We have victim services that work out of this building here. My wife works in that section. They're very hardworking, and you know what? They have quite a few files, and they're helping people with court, and they're helping victims with the issues that they have. And they have lots of people they can refer victims to. And I guess besides that, you know, even within this building here, we do have grief and loss counseling. Linda Sovdi does that. We have some counseling here. with tenofovir. We have a bunch of things in-house, but also we can help people link to people that when they need help. And you know, some other organizations that we have, like Alberta Health Service, I said, we got mental health addictions. You know, we've got Wood Buffalo Housing, Center of Hope. There's just so many, Salvation Army. I mean, anyway, I think that referral is really important, and that we can look to assist in those areas and make those extra referrals, because it's not always about, you know, yeah, it's about keeping the community safe, but it's also about helping people when we need to and making those proper referrals. So I hope that that answers your question. Back to you, Kathy, please.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Yes, it did answer the question. It's nice to see that even throughout this pandemic, we're still liaising with all our resources and partnerships that we have within this community to help people. I'm going to go on to our next question here, Mark. And this is one that definitely hits close to home sometimes for families and so forth, given the fact that we're in a state of pandemic. Over the last year, everything starts to build. So the question is, I think domestic violence is a big issue, and even more so with the pandemic. Why wasn't this important issue included in your priorities? And how are the police addressing this issue?
Thank you for that question. That's a good question. Domestic violence was one of the top, you know, responses from the survey, and we did take that into consideration. But we also have a internal check and balance system in the detachment called unit level quality assurance. And so this year we're checking on a number of different things within the detachment, including quality of investigations, court briefs, and disclosure. We'll check those, make sure they're done correctly. But domestic violence is, to me, is the number one that we're going to check. And how we'll check that is we'll review all the domestic violence files as they come in. We already have supervisor review on these files, but we'll have an expert review these and make sure that they are compliant, and make sure we're doing the right things. And because I can tell you that last year we had 873 domestic violence calls in this region, and we do have a big region. You know, we have a big population, but still it's significant. And then so far this year, we already have 339 domestic violence complaints that, you know, members have had calls on. So I guess if you put that into perspective, we almost had 39,000 calls last year though as well. So we're a big, busy place. And I just want to put that into perspective. So we also have domestic violence unit here that their expertise is investigating domestic violence. And we've got some very good interviewers in there and some very good members that are used to doing these type of investigations and can be considered experts in that area. So I'm definitely going to pick someone from that unit to do this review, but it is one of our checks and balances. And let's face it, person crimes to me is our #1 priority. No matter what the charts say or anything else says, we have to protect people, and violence against anyone is has to be investigated, has to be priority #1. So I hope that answered your question. But that's how I think we see that as a team here after our many discussions. Kathy, do you have another question for me?
Yeah, I just want to take this to remind people if they have any questions, they can still chat on the webcam there on the Q&A section. And if they're calling in, they could text them to 780-788-0206. So the next question I have, Mark, is what collaboration can the RCMP have with First Nations to enhance community policing?
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. There's a number of things that we can do. We can always do better. It's very important to me. You know, just on the 5th of this month was the National Awareness Day for Missing Murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit persons. And so during that day, Dennis Fraser of the Regional Municipality Wood Buffalo Indigenous Relations and Rural rural communities. He contacted me and put me in touch as well with Elena Gould, who is with Athabasca Tribal Council. And I know both of them from being here before. I was on a reconciliation strategy group with Dennis Fraser before, and enjoyed doing that a few years ago. That's another thing that we need to get engaged with, because there's always things we can do better. We have to learn from our past mistakes and try to do better. It was nice to talk to Elena, who gave us the imprint of the red dresses that we could put in the windows of our detachment. You know, and that is a whole nother story. But we've even, for that part of it, and I can talk about this a lot, but for that part of it, we've actually revamped our investigative teams a little bit with our general investigation section, our plainclothes members. And so we've made, instead of having them sort of follow the watch, more like a big city BC style, we've made two teams. And so one is a morning team and then an afternoon team. And it gives you more investigators that can actually get engaged into an investigation. And so we're also looking at some of our historical files, missing persons, homicides. And I know that soon to be, hopefully, Inspector Keith Horwood has been really engaged in that. And so has Staff Sergeant Liz McDonald, who's in charge of our GIS units. And so we're putting teams together to look into that. And I think it's very important. The Indigenous Relations Sergeant that we have just named, Martina Noski, she's going to be really busy, you know, communicating with our Indigenous communities. And you know, we have 11 different governments here, right? I mean, this is a big, busy place, and want to get out. I want to get out myself and talk to more people. I know quite a few people, but we can always meet more, and that's the same with our patrols, with everything. You know, we have patrols that are going to all of these communities. We're 24/7 policing, trying to make sure that we have the members that are going into those communities. It's hard with COVID, but that they're out there, right? And they're visible and they're talking to people and they're engaged. You know, we have the John V.A. Patrol Cabin. We have down in Conklin, we have the multiplex that we can utilize. Fort McKay, we have a satellite there. Pretty soon we're going to have our downtown satellite office that we can work out of there as well and do foot patrols, bike patrols, things like that. I think that the way I want to see it is, I think that we're building relationships. We're trying our best. I want to do more. I want us to be transparent. I want people to be able to reach out to us and talk to us and, you know, feel comfortable. We're still going to do our investigations. We're still going to do police work. But we do it in a respectful way every day. And that is just really important to me, building relationships. I'm trying to build relationships with chiefs and presidents and you know, our local council, all our people, mayor, CAO, everyone I can. And, you know, people who know me, they know they can reach out to me, and, you know, they do. I've been talking to plenty of people since I've been here, and it's only been since February 1st. So we just want to keep building that relationship. I probably missed a bunch of things there, but I didn't look at any notes this time, so I'm trying to do it off the cuff, and it's very important to me. And I think people who know me know that that's true. So we'll try to keep doing the right things, and I'm here. If you need me, I'm here. I will listen to you. So I think that's the best I can do on that with just out of the top of my head here, Kathy. I'll turn it back to you again.
Thank you, Mark, for that. It seems that people are really excited about this new Sergeant Indigenous Liaison position. I got a question here from Jenny. Can you tell us more about the Indigenous Liaison program? So I guess basically, what do you intend on this position to do for the Indigenous communities of our area?
Well, thanks for the question, Jenny. I could ask you, what do you think they should do? Because it's a brand new position. And, you know, I worked in North District in Northern Saskatchewan, and we had a Sergeant Indigenous Liaison then. His name was Jamie Gabriel, and he used to go with us on the road a lot, and we'd go to different celebrations and do community events, and it was great. So I think Martina is she already has a lot of great ideas. She's already been reaching out to a bunch of elders here locally and talking about doing a smudging and a ceremony here at the detachment to bless the detachment. I love it. Like, I did one in Lac La Biche when I was down in district and pipe ceremony and that. I thought it was great. There's a lot of programs I think that Martina can bring and all of us here in the detachment can bring. And in K Division in Edmonton headquarters, we have Indigenous police services, but this is going to be, and we can get things from them to help us with our programming and what we want to do. But Martina is going to, she's going to be attached to us, right? She's going to be working for the detachment here. She's not going to be a K Division resource. So pretty excited about that because I think we can do lots of things with that position. And I don't want it to, like I said before, I don't want it to negate the fact of all the contacts we already have and relationships we have right now with chiefs and presidents and other leaders. But I think she can supplement that, and she's already got some great ideas. So I think it's an exciting position, and I want to treat every person here with respect. I want to get engaged with everybody and have them be able to trust their police. Maintaining confidence in the police is so important. We're the ones that are at the front line that are doing things that other people don't want to do. We're always going to run into situations that are perceived different ways. And, we can talk more about this probably too, because it's a big topic, but I want to build those relationships and I want people to know where we're coming from. And, I want to know what's going on in my detachment, and I support my members. I think we've got a lot of great members here, and I think Martina is going to help us with those relationships. And I think there's a lot of programs that she can do, and we'll be looking at what kind of programs because we're just building this. I'm going to be talking to Superintendent Teddy Monroe, who's a friend of mine. He's the district commander up in Prince Albert in northern Saskatchewan, and I want to just see what they're doing with their position. And I know that Sarah Drummond is our soon-to-be inspector here. She's hopefully staying with us as well. Hope they don't get shipped off somewhere else. But she's going to be working with Martina on different programs. And she has a very nice background too, working out of Ottawa and working in a bunch of northern communities too. So we're building it. It's new, and I foresee it as being hopefully something great. But my answer is what they're going to do yet. Tell me what you think they should do, because we're listening and we're building it. So, but it's very exciting. So thanks, Kathy, back to you again.
Thank you, Mark. I also hear that that Indigenous liaison position will be working together with the Indigenous communities to develop like a session, a program for our local members so that they can learn the traditions of the communities that they work in. Do you know if this is true?
Thank you, Kathy. We have been talking about that, and that was being done when I was down in St. Paul, and just retired, but Staff Sergeant Brent Sawatsky was down there. He was working with myself and Chief Superintendent Wendell Reimer at the time, and he went to places like Saddle Lake, Frog Lake, a whole bunch of different communities down there, and was able to basically have an elder work with him to present to the young, well, they're not always young, but most of the members that are in those detachments about the cultures and traditions and ways of life in those communities. And, we're going in there and learning. And the community was actually putting together like a historical booklet about the history of that community and how it came to be and who came and what happened and what are the traditions and cultures. I know that tradition and cultures are different in different communities. And that's why I think it's really important that if we that is definitely something we're looking at, that if we can set that up and have people, leaders in those communities work with us and put together this kind of programming, then we can teach the members what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And they can have a contact in this elder or this community person that can steer them the right way. Because I've certainly seen some things in my 29 years service that didn't go so well in some communities, because there's some things you just don't do in certain communities, but members can be oblivious to that, right? And so it's having those communications, and you know what, building those community profiles. So yeah, thank you for reminding me that, Kathy. That's awesome, and that is something that we're also looking at. Back to you again.
No worries, thank you. Yes, you're correct. We do get training in indigenous police work and so forth like that, but it's nice that we have it for our own individual communities. So thank you for clarifying that and showing the engagement that we're going to have with our local indigenous communities here. I'm going to go on to the next question, Mark, transitioning into off-highway vehicles. So this person wants to know why they don't see more patrolling of off-highway vehicles on the edge of the urban areas. They think that more accountability and fines should happen for people offending the laws. What do you think on that?
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. We do make patrols. You know, we have snowmobiles. We've been out. We have ATVs, or UHVs, I guess they call them now. I guess I'm older, ATVs to me. And we also have a side-by-side that we're just acquiring now to even enhance that more. You know, we have a boat too. Like we have these resources, and we have a lot of members trained in ATV operation and snowmobile operators. So they do go out. You know, I know that in council and with the RMWB, there's been some discussions on access points for people in the community to be able to go out on their sleds and their ATVs, and where can they take them out? Because let's face it, you know, we're up north. This is kind of a way of life, right? Like, how many people have these? And so I know that, you know, there's 5 access points here now, and probably they may be looking to expand this, but we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, if my members are out patrolling and our teams are out and they come across someone who is violating these, I think for me, it's always education first, and have those discussions. And, you know, if it's a repeat customer, then, you know, then that's another story. Then maybe they need to be dealt with. But I think it's a way of life. And to me, you know, we also obviously work with bylaw services on this, and you know, we do a lot of things together, and I want to continue that relationship as well. But those are my thoughts on OHV. Is that you know, I want to be out there. I want to make sure people aren't drinking and driving and or being reckless. But at the same time, I think that education first, charges second. So that's my viewpoint on that. Thank you, Kathy. I'll send it back to you again.
Thank you so much, Mark. Yes, you're right. We do live in an area where there's a lot of love for the outdoors, and our community is completely surrounded by an urban area or a rural area. So we do get a lot of that. So thanks for your answer. I have another question here. There are known areas where homelessness and drug activities are ongoing and sometimes dangerous to others in the area. So besides patrolling, what does the RCMP do to reduce this activity?
Well, that's a great question, Kathy, and you know, it's something that's kind of been on my mind a bit, and it's come up in some meetings. And you know, the downtown area, for example, I think opening the community office, getting the members out on foot patrols, on bike patrol, making sure people are safe, including the homeless people, right? We want everyone to be safe here and be out. Drug investigations, you know, it's a priority for us, right? It's a priority in every community you go to across Canada. And, you know, I've worked in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and every place I've worked, it's been an issue. So we do have the teams to deal with those issues. You know, if we have an area that is a drug problem, if it looks like the drive-through of your favorite fast food restaurant, that's probably drug trafficking. That's what it is. And if the community sees this, I want it reported, because you know what, report it. There's lots of ways we can handle taking the information. It can be confidential. We've got teams here that are expertise in handling drugs. Our drug section has been very active. I don't want anyone getting fentanyl, cocaine, these very dangerous drugs. You know, we've had members had to administer Narcan 2 people and revived them, and probably would have died if that didn't happen. There's been a few of those cases. And so this is an issue for us. You know, some of the disturbance numbers are climbing up a little bit in the downtown core as well. I don't mean to pick on the downtown core, but it's come up. You know, there's complaints at Peter Pond Mall. We just had town council this week, and we're talking about community standards bylaw. And you know, Deanne Berge worked hard on that. Sabrina Catarini, and you know, that went before council, and it's just, to me, it's just another tool in the toolbox for dealing with people that aren't behaving properly. You know, at the same time, if people need those referrals for addictions or for, you know, counseling help, I want to try to help them as well, right? And so, but definitely, to me, if there's drug trafficking going on that's ruining a neighborhood, there are things we can do. But I do need the community to speak up a bit and to tell us that this is an issue, report these issues. You know, we have a very active drug section here. I also have, you know, it's a dotted line to me because it's out of Edmonton, but we also have alert here, right? Alberta, now I'm going to forget what alert stands for because I'm nervous here, but anyway, Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team. So, you know, we have a large team of those gentlemen and females there that are very active as well, and they can take on bigger files for us if something happens, you know, with regards to drug trafficking or organized crime. I have 178 members here, and we have the resources to deal with issues. So I think downtown, or those areas, if you have an area like that, visibility is very important, but also investigation. So, and then, you know, if we can, that hub, that wraparound service where we also deal with the issues, underlying issues, what are they? Can the community help with counseling or a place for people to stay, or, you know, whatever it needs to be. So that's a tough question because that's multifaceted. There's a lot of things that are to that one, Kathy, but those are some things that come to mind for me. And I know those are some things that we're doing already. So I'll pass it back to you again.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, unfortunately, we do have to deal with homelessness, but it's nice to see that the RCMP is trying to work towards helping the situation. And like you said, if anybody has any concerns or whatever, just call it into the RCMP and we'll deal with that through investigations. I just want to remind everybody out there, if you have any questions, to continue to add them to our Q&A list here. And we'll get to them one by one. And if you're visiting us via phone, just text your question to 780-788-0206. So Mark, I do have another question here in the queue waiting for you. The question is, trusting RCMP can be really tough when there are highly publicized situations where RCMP appear harsh or even violent towards citizens. You're saying that you want to have a better engagement with us, but how exactly do you see that relationship getting better, especially when the situations become heated?
Thank you, Kathy. That is a very good question. It's a question I've answered before, but I'll answer it again. You know what? Police are under the microscope internationally. Right now, we're living in an age where social media is at everyone's fingertips. People can see what's going on in the United States. It's affecting everything from sporting events to protests to everything down there. And it comes back here. You know, we have incidents that, to me, the most important thing is treating people with respect, doing the right things. We have to maintain confidence in your police force. And so that is so important. You know, if members are out there and they're working the street, you know, you see the videos coming from other places, right? You see these bad videos, and I want them to have their VIX or their camera in their dash of their car on at all times. I've said I want body cameras. right? That hasn't come yet because Ottawa hasn't decided on which ones, and it's the whole downloading thing and the costs and everything else. So we're trying to figure out, I think, which system is the best. But this is definitely something I would be interested in having my members. I want them to be transparent. I want people to see what the members are doing. And you know what? If they're not doing the right things, then we have a public complaint process. We have code of conduct investigations, which is internal investigations where, for the most part, as the detachment commander here, I'm the conduct authority. And if it's something very bad, then it goes up higher to the commanding officer. And so, you know, that process is there. People can make complaints about the police. We'll take your complaint. We'll look into it. There's also, if it's a very serious matter, we have Alberta Serious Incident Response Team. So ACERT. So if it's a shooting or something serious like that, and I just came from district and we have some, right? We have 27 detachments here. It's a big, busy place. And when that happens, ACERT will come in and they will take the whole thing and they will do the investigation. And then we will have the conduct side of it, if there is any. And so I think that, you know, there's a lot of things that the public doesn't see too, like some of this internal process, some of these internal processes that we deal with conduct and that is very in-house and very private, right? And, you know, I've had to give out discipline to members, but not often. We've got a lot of great members that do the right things every single day. And if we don't, then I want to know about it because we'll deal with it. You know, it's a professional organization. I want us to be transparent. I want us to do the right things. And you know what? I know of several instances in the past many years I've been in the force where we have had to, you know, suspend people. People have lost their jobs. But for the most part, we've got a very good organization with a lot of great members. And you know, if things go wrong, well, I want to be transparent. Policing is not the same now. This last couple of years, have really changed policing globally. And I tell members, when you're out there, like the young ones, the new ones that come here at a depot, I tell them, when you're walking around, pretend there's a video camera following you everywhere you go, everything you do every day. When you take on this job, this career, you're under the microscope and you have to do the right things. And you have to be able to look in the mirror and know you're doing the right things. And it's really very, very important because you know what? Probably someone is having a video camera on you and seeing what you're doing because that's the way it is today. I think that the trust in the police is something you have to earn. It's something you have to show up every day and do the right things. And unfortunately, when you have one person that does something that isn't that, and it could be in another country, it affects all police officers, and it's infuriating to me in some situations. You know, the George Floyd situation is infuriating to me. I can't stand to watch that video. That's just something that is wrong. And, you know, I don't see that in my organization, and I'm very proud of my organization, and we will continue to try to do the right things so that, and have open, transparent communication so that people have trust in us. I want to have those communications. I want to have those talks. If anything does go wrong, I want to have those talks, and I want to be transparent as much as I can. So that's my thoughts on that. I think policing has changed. And when I've been to depot a few times recently in Regina, Saskatchewan, where our new members are trained. And you know what? One of the questions they ask me when I'm there, when they find out, you know, who I am, if I'm not in uniform, is what's your advice to me to be a member in this organization in the RCMP? I said, show up every day and do the best you can. Be honest. And everything you do counts. That's my thoughts. And, you know, it's worked for 29 years for me. And, you know, I'm trying to pass that torch now to our members here. So that's my thoughts on that. Thanks, Kathy. Back to you.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, you're right. Policing has definitely changed, and it's good advice to give members to have them expect that they're being recorded at all times, because they quite possibly could be, which is good because all that accountability. It's good to see the transparency too, and that things would be investigated as need be if there's a complaint laid against a member. Kind of rolls into our next question about transparency. So our next question is, I'm sure the RCMP is doing a lot in the community, but I don't hear very much about it. How can the RCMP become more transparent about the crime in our region and what they're doing or accomplishing to make our region safer and better to live in?
Well, that's a great question. To me, we have a media liaison here in the detachment that handles all of our outgoing media. I try to engage with the media as much as I can and let people know what we're doing. If we're doing, if we have a big drug bust, we put that out there. I want people to know. If we have a really good investigation where, someone was hurt and we did a good job, I want people to know. Anything productive that we do, I want everyone to know. And so the media engagement is very important to me. But there's several other things that we can also do. And I'm just going to move this down over here so you can see. We're doing reporting on what we're doing quarterly. So the commanding officer, Deputy Commissioner Curtis Zablocki, has asked all of the detachment commanders to provide quarterly reports. And this is new. So these quarterly reports go to all the communities and they show our policing stats. They show what we're doing. It goes through Operational Strategy Branch, also in Edmonton. But you know what? We're already doing that here. So we're doing 2 quarterly reports now because my assistant up here, Barb Curry, she puts together a quarterly report for all the communities. And it's community specific and it has pictures and it shows what members are doing and it shows investigations and it shows stats. And so this was already being done by us and now we're doing it twice. So I think that is quite transparent for us. And it's something that I want to continue doing. But I mean, there's a lot of other things that we're doing to make the region a better place to live. And our community policing programs are unbelievable. I mean, they're doing literally hundreds of presentations and they can take, if you have a request from the community to have a presentation on safety or on anything really, you can discuss it with them and we can put together a presentation for your community. And we've done that recently. I can think of 2 this last week that we've done that dealing with stakeholders and you know what, it's a good service. So that's another thing that we're doing. I don't know, we're trying to be transparent. I think we've got the teams. I've got 178 members. We've got teams in every area that can handle whatever investigation comes our way. And we'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to try to tell the good stories of what we're doing. So I don't know, that's a very good question. I hope I answered that okay. So Kathy, I'll go back to you again.
Thank you, Mark. I see that it's nice to see that the public is going to be able to see the reports online and so forth. So that's good that they'll have access to that on the RMWB website under the RCMP section. I have another question coming in here now. It's coming from John. So John says, I see police in force out on the highways, but very little in town. I live on Dominion Avenue and it's seriously like a raceway. Can enforcement be more diligent on our city streets? It's ridiculous here. Neighbors are talking about a variety of things we can do to reduce this and none of them are pretty. So what is your response to John and his traffic concerns on Dominion Avenue?
John, thanks for notifying me of that. We take any complaint we get seriously, right? And we'll look at it and we look at hotspots with traffic and where are the areas that we need to focus on. And by making that complaint, I think we're getting a little better than we were a few years ago. We've got more of a family-oriented community really overall than we did, say, when I was here 5 years ago. I think people are slowing down a little bit, but we still have those traffic resources. And if it's a problem in your area, now it's recorded. So, I'll get some patrols, take a look at it. These are the kind of things that we want to hear about. I'm hearing about Real Martin Drive. I'm hearing the survey gave us some feedback on some areas that people feel that people are driving too quickly. And, we've had complaints at Syncrude Athletic Park recently about people stunting and, squealing the tires. And so we've made active patrols of that area. And I'm hoping it's helping because our traffic unit's been up there, our members have been up there. We do school zones when school was in every morning to make sure that people aren't ripping through school zones, So, hey, you've reported it now, we'll take a look at it. And that's what we need. That's what we need people to do, is to let us know what the issue is. We're out there, but we can't be everywhere at once. So, if we take a look at your street and we start seeing a bunch of speeders there, and maybe we need to prioritize that area. We've got the resources to do it. So I appreciate your question and thank you. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And yes, we'll indeed get some enforcement on Dominion Avenue there. I got a question here coming in from Mayor Don Scott. He wants to know what additional engagement efforts that you plan.
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. Well, Mayor Scott, maybe we can talk about that ourselves, because I'd certainly I enjoy the relationship with the RMWB since I got here February 1st. The CAO, Jamie Doyle, has been outstanding. All the councillors, everybody. So COVID is tough right now. This is the kind of engagement that we have, is what we have here right now. And I definitely want to get more engaged with the communities. And, we'll continue doing our liaisons that we're doing with our leadership team up here, but also, within our own units, we have many consultative groups, including our community consultative group here in the detachment, which encompasses a nice margin of the community, including George McGuigan from the school board as the chair, Deanne Berge from the municipal side, a whole bunch of really good stakeholders in that group. But these groups are important. And, I am doing my senior leadership team meetings with all the directors and with the CAO. I enjoy those. I think that's a good collaboration there. We've got many indigenous community contacts. I want more. I want people to be able to call me directly and talk to me if they need to. And then I've got a good team here with me. So I think we can always do better in this area. And you said that you and I were going to go play basketball sometime too, and that hasn't happened yet. So I'm still waiting for that one. No, I really appreciate the question, and I do think that we can do more. And I'm totally open to whatever else we can do. But I can tell you that I've got a whole book here of community consultations of what members are doing right now, and including hospital liaison, PAC crisis team, project board, liaison with the Crown Attorney's office. All our indigenous communities have liaisons, a very good one with Fort McKay, with James Owl there with regards to policing. Keith Horwood here has with the Fort McKay Métis, and with Fort McMurray Métis local, he's engaged with them. Child Youth Advocacy with soon-to-be Inspector Sarah Drummond, Community Advisory Committee, she's on that as well. I've got Sergeant Grant Ronland up in Port Chipewyan, who's really engaged. He's been really, he's due to come out of there, and I'm going to try to keep him here in Fort McMurray if I can, because he's a solid performer. I need a new person to go up there. I've had good conversations with Chief Adam. He and I have had many discussions about what we can do to better the community. And as well. I've met with Chief Powder up there and his whole council, with Inspector Tyler Codling, my operations inspector, and had some very good conversations with his group. Jeffrey O'Donnell down in Conklin, I've had meetings with his group as well, virtually, and it's been very good. And with his whole CDRAC, his whole group down there, and it's been positive. You know, they complained about drugs, and we did a drug search that week. So that, you know, there's been some things that have worked out well. Same thing with being in Fort Chippewa. We did a drug search just after they complained about drugs there with the Métis president and council up there. So we've got a lot of work to do. We still got a lot of work to do with building relationships, but I think we're starting to get on the right page, and we'll continue to do that. So, you know, if there's you told me when I first come in here that you would introduce me to more people, and so I'll take you up on that offer. I appreciate it. So Kathy, I'll go back to you.
Thank you, Mark. And if you and the mayor do engage in a basketball one-on-one, I'd like to be there to see that. So let us know. I just want to further let the public know here that right now we have our online forums are now live on the RMWB website under the RCMP area. So if you have any further questions or whatever, just make sure you go on. They'll be open for a period of time after we close down. So make sure you do that. Mark, I just want to ask another thing. What can you tell us about the opening of the downtown RCMP office space?
That's an outstanding question. We're getting the signage put together right now. Nicole Schminard, municipal side here manager, is meeting with me today and showing me plans for the signs that they propose, the RCMP signs outside the building and bylaw. And so we're working on that. That renovations are just about complete. And it's going to be a storefront office for us. So some people in the media had commented that, well, why are the RCMP spending all this money? Are they moving their whole detachment back to Jubilee? No, we're not. But we are going to have a nice storefront in there where we can do presentations out of there in the what was Fort McMurray experience area. It'll be, I think it's going to be very good. I'm also looking at some closet space down there where we can maybe store some of our bicycles. Bike patrols and foot patrols out of there will be very good. And you know what, bylaw services will be working out of there too. So I think we can get out of that building and you know, people can come there, right? Like we'll have laptop computers that we can come and go with because of the security. But I think it's a nice storefront for us to get downtown. It's right across from the mall. We can get out, get on the go, and be visible. And you know, that's something I'm pretty excited about. I've been down and viewed it, and it looks pretty good down there. It's got a front counter where people can come in. It's got an interview room and then a big open space. And I said the presentation space should be very good for our community policing officers to go in there and you know, do some, hopefully now vaccinations continue and we can start doing some presentations there live with human beings as opposed to, you know, being virtual all the time. So I think that's coming together, and I think it's going to be good, right? It's in the same building as most of your municipal staff and downtown, and it's right in the center of things. So pretty excited about making that happen. But it's not going to be there's no cells in there. There's, you know, it's not a permanent spot, but it's a spot where we can come and go out of and maybe take a statement or two, do some community-based stuff out of there. So that's what it's for. Thank you, Kathy. I'll send it back to you again.
And thank you, Mark, for that. Yes, it's nice to see that we're going to be opening up another RCMP front down in the downtown core for the public to drop in whenever they need. I have a question in regards to some of our policing priorities. So right at the beginning, you went over our 5 policing priorities. And I know that we work in a very large detachment area. So the question is, what happens in urban areas aren't always the same as the rural community faces, like the issues are different. Each rural community has its own issues too. How exactly do these policing priorities relate to rural areas?
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. Like I said before, these priorities that we have are priorities from the community. And we did have a great deal, a number of people in the Fort McMurray area itself contribute to the survey. So we can still do policing outside of what's on the annual performance plan as well. I mentioned that earlier. If you have a problem in a community, or maybe it's not a problem, maybe you want presentations, maybe you want members, when we can, to get back in the schools. Maybe there's ceremonial things we can do with the community and be welcomed, all these different things that we can do outside of the plan. But the plan is still, it's got some pretty good things on it, I think. And it's something that I'm going to call our priorities, but they might not fit in Janvier. They might not fit in Conklin, Anzac. Every community has its own needs, and we're certainly open to, and we will discuss with leadership there in the community there as to what does that look like and how can we do our thing in those communities. So, core policing is still there. We're gonna, if someone needs help, we'll be there, right? If there's a drug dealing issue, we want to know about it. If you have a traffic issue, we want to know about it. And these are all priorities that are on the APP, but there's many things we can do outside the APP. And, like I said, when we have as many different calls as we did last year, and now we're operating in this COVID environment, there's a lot of different things we can do for the communities, and especially in the rural communities. And I think we are doing that. I'm hearing positive feedback about our visibility in the communities over the last, since I got here, which I didn't hear a couple of years ago about a couple specific communities. So I think we're trying to do our best. 24-hour policing, we're sending people out, we're getting them to those communities. We have people assigned to all the communities, and we'll keep trying to do that. It's important for me. And if it's not working, we'll make changes. We'll look at the board again, so got to be flexible today's day and age. So I'll go back to you, Kathy. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it did, Mark. Thank you so much. It's nice to see that even though we have 5 objectives for the year for our priorities, that nothing will be left unattended if it's identified. And you're right, each community may have different issues. We are well aware that our RCMP zone is very large. I mean, aside from including Fort Chipewyan, which is supervised by a sergeant up there, we go as far as, Fort Hills in our detachment area all the way down to Conklin. So that will transition into the next question. And the next question is, I've heard stories about how long it takes for someone from the RCMP to get to rural Indigenous communities. Why? And is there anything being done about that?
Thank you, Kathy. I think I've somewhat answered that one already with regards to our 24/7 policing. We don't have members on call. They are working, and they're working out in those communities. If we have an issue where members have to arrest someone in Conklin and then they have to leave, well, we have resources working in other areas that can supplement that, if need be. So, I'm hearing visibility is getting better. I'm very pleased about that. We also have expertise here for investigations, right? So if you have a problem in an area, we can send the right people there to deal with it as well, right? And I mean, you just think about, and this is a bit of an extreme example, but when I was here during the wildfire, the RCMP, we brought in 1,200 extra Mounties during that time period from, and this is outside of our detachment, obviously. We're talking, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, people came. And we are in a position where if something does happen, we can get lots of resources. we're doing quite well here with our numbers. I'm happy with it. And we will continue to try to get out there, right? And if members do have to leave, we can redeploy. And so I'm hearing that people are seeing us out there. And, you know, even despite COVID, I'd like members to be able to stop and have a coffee with somebody, but, you know, we can't do that right now, right? You can't, times have changed right now. So, you know, we'll continue to try to be visible. We'll continue to try to get out there. It's a priority for me. All the watch commanders know that. Inspector Tyler Codling, my operations officer, is dealing with my 4 staff sergeants. We have 25 people on each watch here. We have 4 watches, 24-hour policing. They're working and they're out there. So, and if they're not, I want to know about it. And I think the feedback I'm getting lately is that it's pretty good. And with the vast area that we have to cover, you know, I'm pretty happy with that because it's huge. You know, you're talking 160 kilometers just to Conklin from Fort McMurray. Shifts are staggered, so, you know, people should be coming and going and keeping that coverage. So it's something I'm definitely is on my radar, and I want to keep doing that. And if it's not happening, I want to hear about it. So thank you for that question. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. I just want to remind people we have about 20 minutes left here, but if you have any questions, you can add them to our growing list. Just send them through our chat right now and or text your question to 780-788-0206. If we happen not to get to them tonight, your response will be placed on the forum. So just bear with us if we don't have enough time for this evening. We will answer them later online. Mark, I have a question that came in from Jane. It's in response to the question is in regards to the Conklin multiplex. So when is the plan to open the office in the Conklin multiplex? I mean, we know that we have office space in Janvier and there is also in Fort McKay. But what about the Conklin multiplex space?
Thank you, Jane, for that question. Willing to do it whenever we can. I think the fact of all this COVID has put a damper onto our plans for utilizing that office. And you know, I know that Jeffrey O'Donnell and his crew down there have been, you know, more than helpful in letting us get that set up, and I want to utilize it, and I'm sure the members do as well. It's a beautiful building, and we need it. So, but I think it's been slowed down because of that. So I do plan on having some more conversations. I haven't talked to Conklin in a few weeks, and hopefully I do again soon because it's definitely something that I want our members to be able to utilize. And again, we're in the middle of a state of emergency. The COVID situation has been tough, but that is a great space for us, and definitely I want to utilize it. So that's my thoughts on that, Kathy.
Okay, thanks for that, Mark. Just going to the next question here. How does the RCMP see drug awareness and educational presentations helping to reduce drug trafficking that is currently happening?
Thanks, Kathy. You know, it's funny because when I worked in Labrador, I was the person who set up the drug awareness office in Goose Bay, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Labrador. And so we had new federal money, set it up. There's a lot of presentations to the community. And a lot of the presentations I was doing is the same what our community policing is doing now. And what the presentations I really want to see on drugs is what type of drugs affect the body in what ways? Because people, especially our youth, like grade 7 to 12-ish, need to know what the symptoms are, what it does to your body. We have people overdosing on fentanyl and other opioids right now, and it's a major issue. And so we need to get those stories out there. You know, the addictiveness of some of these things, how your life can change if you're on crystal meth. You know, these are the type of things that we need to be getting out there to the public, especially the youth, so they understand what these issues are. Like, I've done presentations to correctional centers so that they can see when someone may be, you know, on something. Teachers. These are the type of people that also need to know, right? Because the parents start to see a certain different type of behavior, you know, and you see people who have everything that have nothing when this happens. And I think it's very important to show that when these presentations are being done. You know, what are the aspects? What are the side effects? How does this change your life? And so, to me, drug awareness is very, very important. Obviously, along with enforcement, but drug awareness is important because it does get that message out there, and it warns people of the dangers of especially some of the harder drugs that are out there and what they can do. And you know, and what does your lifestyle look like when you start getting hooked on these things? What does your lifestyle look like as a drug dealer? You know, what do all of these things look like? And I think that, you know, these are important messages to convey to people, and that's why our community policing section has those, and we have them virtually. And like I said, we have over 30 schools, and to me, that's kind of the main area that we want to target for these presentations. So that's my thought on that. If people have more education and awareness of what this leads to and what it looks like, I think that's important, and that can hopefully deter some people from going down that road. So that's my thoughts on that, Kathy. I'll send it back to you again, please.
Thank you so much, Mark. I just want to bring up the project Keep Straight. Are you familiar with that project that is done in consultation with the oil barons here in Fort McMurray?
Yes, I am. I haven't had any direct dealings with that myself, but I am aware of it. And I know that Liz McDonald, our staff sergeant here now, when she was on drug section, she was engaged in that whole process. And I know that it involves travel. I thought it was to British Columbia. And so, you know, a good program. I've done the same kind of similar program with kids in Davis Inlet way back in the day. And we took some kids that were not using solvents and were doing well in school. And we took them to Ottawa. And we took them to Akwesasne Reserve. And you know what? I was a constable then, and it was great. It was great to take them out and show them another place. And so these are the type of programs that if COVID lifts, you know, I'm all for it, right? I think these type of programs are great. Get the publicity too, show what happens. Very solid. And this is involving athletes, right, Kathy? Yeah. So this is something I think is very good, very positive, and I'm always interested in those kind of programs. But let's get this pandemic over with first. So I'll send it back to you.
Yes, I agree with that. It will be good to get back into the normal routine of what programs we used to run, indeed. And Project Keep Straight was definitely very impactful when the oil barons would go to East Hastings in BC and bring back information that they could share with, you know, schools and so forth, and people that, you know, look up to and wish to be like a player of the oil barons. So definitely a great program. I want to move on to the next question. The next question comes in from Mike. So thank you, Mike, for this. I have heard and read about utilizing environmental design to reduce crime in problem areas. Can you speak to your experience with that, and if your members have identified any key areas in town that would benefit from using this method?
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Mike. That's very good. Crime prevention through environmental design is definitely something that every crime reduction, if you go to any crime reduction conference, it's one of the biggest things that come up. And you know what, our community policing section does do that. And they can have those conversations with businesses or areas about, you know, lighting and positioning of things, and fences and video cameras and all these things that can locking vehicles and doors, and better locks, everything. So, I mean, you see some of these SEPTED things, for example, for protests. Well, you got to put a fence here, or else you're going to have 400 people going through here and ripping everything up. So these are all things that come up with that program, and I think it's a very good program. And you know what, our community policing section does do that. They look at these things and figure out if there are things that we can do to make it safer. And it's definitely a community policing program, and it's one that I endorse. So, but for areas that we identify for using this method, we have done this in some areas. I know with video cameras, with lighting, with fencing. So I don't want to identify any areas right now, but it's definitely something that we do. And if someone wants information on that, we have it. So we would be willing to discuss it if there's an area, even Mike, that you think could benefit from this. We certainly would talk about it. And any businesses that want advice, obviously you're going to have to probably pay for your own gear to make it more less appealing to criminals. But I mean, there are certainly things that are affordable for people that can make things safer. So definitely something that we can help with. Send it back to Kathy.
Thank you, Mark, for that answer, and Mike for the question. Yes, indeed, environmental design does help in utilizing some crime. And it could be something as simple as removing shrubbery or putting in new lighting, etc., like that. So we definitely encourage anybody in the area that wants some assistance with that or some insight to just give us a call, and we'll probably try to help you out with your business or your home if you're having issues in that area. We just have about 10 minutes left to go here. I have another question here for you, Mark, if you're ready. What is the progress or action for the K Division 2019 to 2024 reconciliation strategy?
Thank you very much for that question. That's a very good one. I know that K Division, as well as nationally, our commissioner, as well as our commanding officer, Deputy Commissioner Curtis Zablocki, is looking at this and he's got committees set up, and he's got an indigenous advisory group, and we have actually Court Gallup from Fort McKay is on that group. And I suggested him at the time, and he accepted. So that's when I was here, and I was glad that he went over to that group. But the CO meets with people and has these meetings. Like I told you before, that I was on that group here locally with Dennis Fraser years ago, and Elena Gould, and the RCMP. We got a lot of work to do with repairing relationships and trying to do the right things. And I can only speak now about moving forward. And but that's what all this K Division reconciliation strategy is about. And it's about liaising with indigenous representation and trying to do the right things. And I do have some extra notes here, but I think that's it's about working together, and it's about trying to do the right things, and really following the guidance and leadership of the indigenous people and what they have presented to the commanding officer and what they present here locally to me. And I certainly would love to have more conversation with Dennis Fraser about this and how that has progressed here, and how can we make that work here, right? What did the RCMP have to do? We've got some rough history back in the 60s scoop and all these terrible things that happened, and but basically at the time I think we were getting ordered by government. This is way before my time, but we got to repair that harm, right? How can we do that? So I think it's being transparent, trying to do the right things, being engaged in the community, here to listen, and here to learn about the culture in the different communities and try to do the right things. So, you know, hopefully a lot has changed, and that's my hope, that we go down the right road. So, and you know what, that means doing the right things. So I hope to have more discussions on this, but it's about awareness and it's about listening, I think. So I hope that's a good answer. That's the best I can do really with that right now, but I do want to see that expand, and I do want to have more discussions on that. So back to you, Kathy.
Thank you for that, Mark. Yes, indeed. One step in the right direction is great movement on this. I know it's been a lot of years that we've got to this point. So as long as we're taking positive steps forward. So we're down to the last 5 minutes here. I'm going to throw out one more question for you before we conclude our evening here. What can you tell me about your restorative justice program that you've set up with the RMWB here?
Okay, that's a great question. I really like that one because it's near and dear to my heart. I'm a facilitator myself from way back in Labrador days, and had some successful forums where people have been engaged, and really it's helped minimize the harm to the victim, and it's really empowered even the offender, the person who's done the harm, and has helped them reintegrate back into the community. And I have examples, I won't go into them now, but here locally, we have a program here in Fort McMurray, but it's for youth. And we're trying to expand that now to adult, and Nicole Schwinard's been doing a lot of work on that. I'm starting to promote that a lot, so I'm making promises, so we better do something. I've met with Fort Mackay on this, and James Owl, and we've had discussions as well with the chief there, and they want to do that there as well. I did a project in Siksika First Nation down south as part of my executive development course in policing out of Canadian Police College, and we basically looked at getting a paid coordinator because they have facilitators there, and they had about 3,511 offenses that could have gone to restorative justice instead of going to criminal court. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for criminal court, there always will be. But for some of these other offenses, I think where you can repair the harm, empower the victim, want to look at that for our communities. And I know that Chief Superintendent Wendell Reimer down in Eastern Alberta District, where I just came from, wanted me to get engaged in that before I came back here to Fort Mac as well. He wanted me to look at Frog Lake and Fishing Lake, a couple other communities, and I was wanting to do that. But now I want to bring it here, and we're having some conversations. I want to have more conversations, and we're trying to expand it to youth and adult here in Fort McMurray. But we want to expand it rural too. I think it's a great thing. You know, the Crown Attorney here, John Lellick, is awesome. He's engaged in this as well, and I think that I think really the whole justice system is appreciative of restorative justice as another alternative to an overburdened court system. You know, Crown Attorneys are extremely busy. Courts are extremely full. Does everyone need to go to criminal court for everything? I don't think so. I think there are cases where, you know, maybe we can give someone a second chance with their life too, right? As opposed to getting a criminal record. So case by case basis, but it's something I really want to promote here. I want to get more facilitators trained, and so that we can conduct these forums. And I know it works. It's got in the 90% of non-reoffending for people that go through this program. You have to face the person that you did the harm to. It's tough. Criminal court, you might not ever face the person. So I'm a big fan of it. I think it's something that we could do, and I'm trying to make it happen. So we're working on it here, and it's another promise I made in the media. So we have to get it going because it's something I want to do. So I'll go back to you, Kathy.
Okay, Mark, thank you so much. I do have one more question here coming in from Jane. She states, I've always had grave concerns on solving cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and boys. What are your thoughts?
Gail Gallup, they just want us to fix it.
Okay.
Mark, you're just on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, did you get my apology? Okay. Well, I was just gonna acknowledge that I made a mistake, and I think I said Mackay, Fort Mackay Métis, and that was a mistake. I meant McMurray Métis. So I apologize if that was a mistake, and I thought I corrected that, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. That's my error. I know better than that. So Kathy, can you repeat that question again for me, please? I just got a little distracted there for a sec. Can we go back to Kathy for a second?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the question is from Jane. I have always had grave concerns on solving cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and boys. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Jane, for that question. And as I said earlier in this whole broadcast, I agree. We just had on the 5th of this month, we had the day for that nationally, and it's a huge issue with the RCMP. You know what? We've got some unsolved missing cases and homicides here, and so this is a discussion I've had with my team. And I did state this earlier, but I'll do it again. I mean, Staff Sergeant Keith Horde is soon to be an inspector. He's looking after our plainclothes units. He and I have had discussions with Staff Sergeant Liz McDonald here, who's in charge of our general investigation section. We've changed our teams so that they're basically larger investigative teams, and we're breaking off one group of that team to specifically look at our historical cases, and start trying to take a look at some of those and see if there's some other investigative avenues we can look at. So we are doing some things there. We do have some unsolved cases, and I don't like that. So we're going to start looking into those a little bit harder and see where we can go with it. I think we have the resources to do that, especially with this new team we're putting together. So I think it's very important. And it's something that we're going to do. So, Jane, rest assured, we're going to keep working on that. So, Kathy, I'll go back to you again.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to say we managed to get through this with minor technical difficulties. So I would like to thank everyone who joined us this evening. Our time here has come to a close tonight, but we want to continue connecting with you. As we speak, an online forum is being published for you to engage on a community-specific level. So if you are looking for more information on how these priorities impact your local area, or have questions, or would like to share your thoughts with us, we encourage you to please join us online. You can go to rmwb.ca/RCMP to find discussion forums in your area, which the RCMP is actively listening and responding to. So that concludes our time together. Thank you again and take care.